right, ladies and gentlemen, after we kind of are still collecting ourselves with what was, in my honest opinion, the most dramatic, chaotic, unpredictable conference championship Saturday that I can recall. And woo, yeah. Welcome to In the Circle Live. Victor Anderson here with you. Eric Lopez will be joining me in just a moment. We see y'all have been chatting it up a storm on this Saturday evening. First of all, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Second of all, our sincerest apologies for getting y'all late tonight and starting late. The Southland Conference was absolutely bonkers how that ended. And things were, it was a lot. But nonetheless, we are here. Well, I am here. And I see all of y'all are here. And we are ready to rock and roll tonight. So we're going to get things on and popping. First and foremost, I want to remind everybody that In the Circle is brought to you by 643. Opportunities are available nationwide to own your own 643 franchise and help empower the next generation of fast pitch softball. Go to 643.com. That is SIXFOUR3.com and get started today. Go to the new look D1softball.com. Our scoreboard is up and popping. Was up and popping early this morning when you hung out with us, and it's been on and popping all day long. It'll be going on tomorrow morning with the Northeast Conference having their championship game with St. Francis and Long Island. And they'll have the American East Championship game as well. Use promo code NEWLOOK20 to save 20% off any subscription to D1 Softball. And of course, we are the mere appetizer for the main course tomorrow evening, 6:30 Eastern Time, 3:30 Central Time. Juan Blero, I don't know what time that's going to be for you in Japan, but it is the D1 Softball Selection Show Special. Jenna Becerra, Eric Lopez will be your host with myself, Amanda Lorenz, and a cast of thousands joining in. We're going to get our instant reactions to the field of 64. We're going to break down the tournament, the most interesting regionals, who got seeded where, who got put in the tournament, who got left out of the tournament, much, much more. All of that tomorrow, 6:30 Eastern Time. Mark your calendars on the D1 Softball YouTube channel for the D1 Softball Selection Show Special. Where do we want to begin? Where do we want to begin, y'all? Man, what a day. What a day. But before we really get started, if you want to do what we're doing here on StreamYard, this is where we've been doing it since 2018. There is a referral link that I added to the chat. You can get a $10 discount on your subscription to StreamYard, which is what we use here at In the Circle and on D1 Softball. We really appreciate it. And you can, so if you want to talk softball, kind of like what we do, we want to get y'all started in the right direction. Click on the link below and look for the plan that works closest to you. So let's see So I see the conversation was the SEC Tournament Championship that turned out to not be played because of weather. Oklahoma and Texas A&M, it was probably the most hyped SEC Tournament Championship game in recent memory. The number one overall seed was on the line, but the winner on this Saturday, unfortunately, was Mother Nature, and Commissioner Greg Sankey made the declaration that Oklahoma and Texas A&M are co-champions. Hero said the first time in 29 years. Oh, wow. Oh, wait. Yeah, unbelievable. That's it. Okay, I want to ask y'all something, chat, because the SEC announced late last night, before Eric and I went on the air, that they were moving up the SEC championship game to 1 p.m. to avoid the exact thing that happened today, which was getting washed out. So, and based on what the people have said within the tournament, there was no real clear-cut window that they could play the game. Plus, you had to account for the teams traveling back to College Station and Norman, although I'm sure they could have pushed it back a day if possible. I mean, imagine Sunday afternoon softball, high noon, Oklahoma A&M win against the number 1 overall seed. And here's the other thing I want to bring up to you, chat, and feel free to comment. Do you think that television had something to do with Oklahoma and A&M not playing it? See, W. Corpron says they don't avoid it. No need to waste all that time, especially with the tournament starting on Thursday. Now, the only way the tournament will start on Thursday for some teams is if BYU was in the field of 64. Eric Lopez, TV did not. Thank you, W, for confirming that. The tournament starts on Thursday only if BYU makes the field of 64. That in itself is full of drama and full of intrigue. I don't know what's going to happen. By the way, we're waiting for Eric Lopez to show up. What happens with BYU? What happens with Purdue? What happens with the Big Ten in general? Because yeah, the rain had a lot to do with that. Fang Nine says we were lucky the SEC tournament played into the semifinals. Yeah, and the funny thing is, the SEC tournament, which notoriously have been known for long delays due to weather, they avoided all of that until the championship game. That's the wildest thing to me, is that the SEC year after year after year would always be delayed due to weather. They don't have that issue this year in Athens until championship Saturday. And we get denied, for right now anyway, of 2 of the 4 best teams in college softball going at it in Oklahoma and Texas A&M, especially with the way those teams played getting to the championship game. Oklahoma's dramatic comeback versus Arkansas with an SEC tournament record, 6 home runs, capped off by the Garcia 3-1 walk-off. And Texas A&M, yes, Texas did not pitch Tegan Gavon. I get that. I understand that. But the fact that you were up 11-0 on your rival after 2 innings, if that's not a loud, profound statement, then I really don't know what else is. And Mark Virgil says, move the SEC tournament to Oklahoma City. Well, the Big 12 currently plays there right now, Mark, but we shall see if what the contract is with the Big 12 in Devon Park, and if the SEC can maybe maneuver its way around here in that. First, of course, we appreciate all of y'all showing up in the chat. Let me give a few shout outs. Mark Virgil, appreciate you. Hero, he's been hanging out with us all week. Glenn, thank you so much. Stoopsify, we appreciate you. Let's see who else we got in the chat. Robert Ware, thank you for joining us here this evening. I believe I saw, there's Fang 9, appreciate you seeing us. Thomas Perez, how you doing? Johnson, softball and football, Belmont. The Belmont Bruins, Maya Johnson, what a story. Belmont making the NCAA tournament for the first time in a Division I history, knocking out Southern Illinois in the Missouri Valley Championship today. So our congratulations to them. Our congratulations as well to Southeastern Louisiana. If you did not see the end of Game 3 of the Southland Championship Series, with Belmont, with not Belmont, with Southeastern Louisiana and McNeese State. You want to talk about drama. You want to talk about theater. McNeese thought they had the game won. Bang Bang played first. They go to instant replay. Call gets overturned. Southeastern ties up the game, and then Brindley Ford pokes a single through the right side, knocks in the championship winning run, and for the second straight year, Southeastern Louisiana will be in the NCAA tournament. I mean, whoo, wow, it's unbelievable. Yeah, Joshua Tripp. That I on a day like today, where Mother Nature was just running roughshod over all across the tournaments. The Sun Belt Tournament Championship, that got delayed due to weather. The ACC somehow got their championship in without any delays. And Florida State, who was 4 strikes away from taking home another ACC tournament crown, gives it up with 2 outs to go to Clemson and loses that game 2-1. Nate, good evening to you. Great to see you. Thank you so much for coming through tonight. USF was being shut out at home by North Texas. They get 2 runs in the 5th. Anderson has to come in. No relation, by the way. The game gets delayed due to weather. USF scores 3 more runs and beats North Texas 5-4, and they punch their ticket to the NCAA tournament. USF, a team that was on the bubble. You don't have to worry about being on the bubble if you win that automatic bid. Same could be said for Coastal Carolina. This is what makes softball such a beautiful sport, ladies and gentlemen who are watching us right now at 10:21 p.m. Eastern time. The two finalists in the Sun Belt Championship game were the number 7 seed and the number 9 seed, and they played in the 2 first round games on Wednesday. Isn't that what makes softball such a beautiful sport at what it is? Coastal Carolina beats James Madison 3-2, and Coastal Carolina wins the tournament for the first time since 2012. But ladies and gentlemen, did y'all see the beatdown UConn gave to Creighton in the Big East? 18-4. UConn gave Creighton that work. Now, full disclosure, ladies and gentlemen, I was over doing some errands outside of our studio, and I was following the game. I check my phone, and I see it's 3-0 UConn. UConn softball tweeted, "Hey, 2-run single, 3-0 UConn." I'm like, okay. So I get to the light. Lights on red. Traffic's at a standstill. I go on to my YouTube TV app. 20 seconds later, after the app pops up, I see UConn's up 10-0. I'm like, what? That second inning for UConn. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna actually let's pull up the D1. Let's pull up the D1 softball scoreboard, ladies and gentlemen, so we can all look together with interest at this UConn game. Again, the new look D1softball.com website, nice and clean. By the way, shout out to UC Santa Barbara and Joe Evans. Joe Evans, the first coach in NCAA softball history to take 4 different schools to the NCAA tournament. UC Santa Barbara had to win twice versus Cal State Northridge in the Big West Championship, and that's exactly what they did. We'll get back to them in just a moment. But let's get to this UConn score, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a look at this, because when I saw that number, like, wait, what? Look at that, 18-4. Let's look at this, ladies and gentlemen. 12 runs in the second inning. I want everyone to see this. Look at that. 12 runs in the second inning by UConn. By the way, for good measure, they had 6 runs in the third. Just so there's no question about what will be happening here. As a matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, let's go to that second inning and analyze what specifically happened with UConn, shall we? See if it'll let me give. Can it give me a play-by-play of the second inning? Says, oh, there we go. Inning 2. Whoops. Okay, so let's go. So first, Crane goes down in order 1, 2, 3. Oh, by the way, the inning started with Petty striking out. Kalen Breslin, previous guest on the podcast, got a single. Copel got a single. Kibling walked. Ring walked the first run. Hastings 2-run double made it 3, give him a 3-0 lead. Jenkins walked. He got singled up the middle, 2-run single. Made it a 5-0 lead. Then Shiflett came in. Garcia fielder's choice in the air, 2 runs, and then 2 runs scored. So that's 7 runs in the inning. Wild pitch, Petty's walked again. Another wild pitch. Breslin struck out swinging, but advanced to first on a wild pitch. So 3 wild pitches by Shiflett in this second inning. Breslin stole second. Copel with her second base hit of the inning, scoring 2. Kibling walked. Kibling advanced second on, you guessed it, a wild pitch. Patchen came into Shiflett. Ring grounded out. That's the second out of the inning. Hastings singled for another RBI. Jenkins walked, and Higa flew out to end the inning. So UConn scored 12 runs, only needed 6 hits, 4 wild pitches, 3 different pitchers, 2 left on base, and a partridge in a pear tree. Yeah, it was that kind of inning for UConn as the Huskies rolled and blew out Creighton 18-4. First Comp Big East championship win for UConn since 2001. So congratulations to them. Now, a lot of chatter I'm seeing here about Florida State. So let's talk about Florida State. Florida State, of course, we referenced what happened with them in the ACC championship game versus Clemson. Lost that game 2-1. I still think Florida State is the top 5 seed. I think Clemson's winning the ACC tournament championship is going to solidify their position. What happened, where Clemson gets seeded, how that all breaks down, I don't know. It's going to be fascinating to see where Florida State gets seeded tomorrow. Nate Carey says, no, don't put up my comment. Don't put my comment up. Heck, he's going to win it all. Heck, there you go, Nate. Hey, there you go. I'm interested to see with these tournaments and how everything's seeded tomorrow night. We'll get into that a lot on our D1 selection show tomorrow night on the D1 Softball YouTube and Twitter /X account, where the seedings are. But let's kind of focus back, if we can, on the games at hand. But let's go to UC Santa Barbara. Joe Evans, Nate, you talk about your Aggies, former Aggie head coach, goes to UC Santa Barbara and leads the Gauchos to the NCAA tournament. I mean, look, we all know Joe Evans can coach ball. We know this. But think about this, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Evans and UC Santa Barbara will go down in history as the first winners of the Big West softball tournament. Prior to this year, there were only 2 conferences that had not held a softball tournament to give them the automatic bid. The Big West was one. The other is the West Coast Conference. By the way, Santa Clara took home the Big West championship, although that got a little hairy this afternoon. I'll explain that later. But again, congratulations to UC Santa Barbara, because they had to win 4 elimination games to win the Big West championship. And allow me to provide proof of that. They had to be UC. They blew out UC San Diego. Beat UC San Diego in a wild game 11-7. Then beat Hawaii 8-1. They get to the championship game. They have to beat They have to beat CSUN twice. They beat them. They beat them 8-2 in game 1 and had to hold on 7-5 in game 2 to punch their ticket to the NCAA tournament. So again, congratulations to Joe Evans and the Gauchos for making the tournament. Heartbreaker for Charlotte Morgan, who we've had on this show ever since she became the CSUN head coach and previously to that. Where does CSUN now? I would say CSUN's going to go to UCLA. The question is, does UCLA be a top 8 seed? Okay, actually, let's ask this question in the chat because I know everyone's talking about who's going to go where, who's going to be seeded. Is UCLA going to be a top 8 national seed tomorrow night? Put 1 for yes, put 2 for no. Well, is UCLA a top 8 national seed? One for yes, 2 for no. Let's see. Ooh, so far, the early votes. A lot of 2s. I'm seeing a lot of 2s here. The thing that hurt UCLA is twofold, ladies and gentlemen. Number one, UCLA played Michigan in the Big Ten championship game and not Oregon. Yes, I know I said that. UCLA was rooting to play Oregon in the Big Ten championship game.
That makes a lot of sense.
Thank you, Scott Van Pelt. But that didn't happen. Instead, they took on a red-hot Michigan team who, if you've been watching us on our live streams the last couple of days, we had Jeff Brown, who was covering the Big Ten tournament for us at D1 Softball, and he referenced how Michigan was playing loose and confident, and I don't know if anyone knew this or not going into the tournament. Michigan was the defending Big Ten tournament champions. And then they showed their medal and shut out UCLA 3-0 to make a back-to-back Big Ten championship. So Michigan clearly in the tournament. UCLA, whew, I feel right now, and Chad, y'all can follow on with me. Oklahoma's going to be a top 8 seed. Texas A&M is going to be a top 8 seed. I think Arkansas is a top 8 seed. Florida State is a top 8 seed. That's 5. SVP is going to send a cease and desist. Until I get that letter, Mark, until I get that letter, Mark, I will continue to say this.
Because that makes a lot of sense.
Yes, exactly. Also, if you missed our live stream this morning, Amanda Lorenz at the SEC tournament said that Justin McLeod, the king of Dr. Pepper, did not have a single Dr. Pepper. What was the bigger upset, ladies and gentlemen? Bigger upset. Justin not having a single Dr. Pepper at the SEC tournament this weekend. Oklahoma, Texas A&M not playing the SEC tournament championship game. Or Michigan beating UCLA. Which is the bigger upset? 1, Justin not having a Dr. Pepper. 2, Oklahoma, Texas A&M getting washed out. 3, Michigan beating UCLA for the Big Ten championship. Hero says no. Dr. Pepper is a generational upset. Oh, Mark Virgil. I don't believe that. He had to have at least one Dr. Pepper when it was sponsored by Dr. Pepper. I mean, that is the equivalent, Mark. That would be the equivalent of getting a media credential to the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl, which is formerly the Citrus Bowl, and you don't partake in the media spread that included some wings from Buffalo Wild Wings. That would be that equivalent. Don't you agree? Let's see. Fang 9, he has his top 8. A&M, OU, Florida, Florida State, Arkansas, Texas, Tennessee, South Carolina. I feel, Fang 9, that might be the top 8. That feels very good in regards to that top 8. Personally, for me, I put Oklahoma over A&M, but hey, it's 6 in one, half a dozen in the other. It is what it is. What I'm fascinated about the most, who's going to be 14, 15, 16? That's what I'm looking forward to seeing. Robert Ware says, Fang, that's nice, but the committee won't put 7 of the top 8 from SEC, just in my opinion. It really comes down to, and Chad, I agree. Chad, here's an interesting thing. It looks like Eric's going to be joining us shortly. It feels that 6 of the top 8 are locks in terms of national seeds. A&M, Oklahoma, Florida, Florida State, Arkansas, Texas. It's really going to come down to Tennessee, South Carolina, and UCLA for those final 2 spots. And who better to ask these questions to than our number 1 bracketologist finally getting settled in Oklahoma City, Mr. Eric Lopez. Eric, good evening, sir. It's been an eventful and I want to start this. I'm going to start off with this, sir. We've been following softball combined for almost 30 years between the two of us.
Yeah.
Has this been the most unpredictable championship Saturday that we've ever seen?
Well, I'll answer it this way. I apologize for being late. I lost track of time because I just finished my last bracketology.
Oh!
And I literally spent the last 4 hours on it.
Wow.
And I'm seriously lost track of time. I'm not even I generally was so locked in that I lost track of the time so I apologize for that. So I'll take every question that's been asked up until this point. So that's on me. So I just want to apologize for that first because I lost track. But my point to bringing that up is the unpredictability of it has really made this complicated. Not to mention the realignment aspect of it, and just which metrics this committee's going to follow. I think there are interesting plot lines. Who's going to be the number? We don't know who's the number 1 seed, Victor. I don't remember. I mean, I've been doing this for a decade. Usually by now, we know who the 1 seed is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who that is right now. Now, okay, I'll tell if you want me to. If you ask me now, I don't want to give away everything I did because I want people to click in the morning when it comes out on D1 softball. Yes. And my bosses will post that, and you can get all the details there. But that was a challenge. I had to go back and forth on that because the SEC championship game got washed out. And so that took me a while. Then I heard you listening there and bringing up the top 8 seed. That's a challenge because there are 10 teams that are worthy to be top 8. The problem is
there's 8.
Right. And so that's a challenge. And I'm trying to figure out what is the committee going to use to be a differentiator when you have a situation where a lot of resumes are similar and they're, the strengths and weaknesses and all that. Then you have a picture of the 16 hosts. Who are the 16 hosts? And in particular, as we've discussed this morning and everything, who is for example, number 15, number 16. Then there's the team I covered this week, Texas Tech. Where are they? Team like that is seated. The RPIs have just come out. That's the other reason I'm late. The final RPI is out.
Ooh.
So, and it's available. And that was the other reason I lost track is that. So that's just, I mean, so then we got to figure out who the at-large teams are. And first of all, we got to figure out the automatic bids. You had Liberty, could be a bid stealer. You had San Diego State come back twice to win twice against Fresno State. That opened up a spot for number 64 all of a sudden, potentially, right? And then you have your beloved ASUN conference literally finishing what time?
The ASUN finished at 9:15. North Florida finished off their first ASUN tournament.
And I'm super jacked up for Jeff Conrad. I tried to reach him to try to get him on the show, but I would imagine there's a little bit of a celebration going on.
There was a little bit of celebration going on.
Let's try Vic for our Monday episode. Let's shoot for that. You know where I'm going. Yeah. So. I was watching that because I'm friends with Jeff Conn. I'm friends with that whole staff. I really spent a lot of time with that staff when they played at UCF. So I'm geeked. Like if you ask me, my favorite thing there are a couple things that are my favorite things, but one of them being holding a WWE title, which I was never anticipating. Add that to the list. Oh, you didn't see it yet.
I've seen a couple of teams with the WWE.
Have you played the clip? Have you played the clip yet with Nyjah?
We haven't even got, brother. We're just scratching the surface of what we're talking about tonight. Right. So that's what I'm talking about.
I'm almost done with my.
We're gonna be here for a while, folks.
Well, hopefully not too long, but So anyway, so then I had to figure out the 64 teams. Then I got to figure out how to seed them with 2 seeds and 3 seeds, and make sure SEC teams aren't in the same region and all that. So my point is, this was a fascinating, complicated process.
And by the way, Eric, there are still conferences that haven't decided to.
And there's that.
They got the American East. They're going to decide their champion tomorrow. Binghamton versus Bryant, 8 a.m. Eastern time. So if you want to start your selection Sunday with some softball, you got that. You got the Northeast Conference Championship with Long Island and St. Francis. You got the MAC Championship, Siena versus Marist. You talk about teams that we root for. Marist, we got Maya McDonald, the MAC Player of the Year, on the podcast recently. And then you got the Patriot League Championship at 10 with Army versus Boston. So, hey, we're wrapping up Championship Saturday, but we got Championship Sunday going into Selection Sunday.
And that was a challenge. And they're one of those championship games I figured out can bust to the same region, which is what I think the committee's going to do. Ooh. So we'll see if I'm correct in my hunch on that. Put that conference champion, that took me a little while to figure out, okay, like where can that team bust to, so that way the committee can figure out the other teams. Those other conference championship games you mentioned are all flights anyway, so not as big of an impact. But there was one in particular that you will see when whenever the bracketology comes out in the morning. I have a morning flight, folks, so consider this your time to ask questions. Now, hopefully, if I have free internet on my flight like I did coming here, I'll try to tweet from while I'm flying, and I can take your questions. But anyway, so that's my long rant for apology for being late. I lost literally track of time, not to mention I'm on Central Time Zone, and I forgot that when we talked about 10 o'clock, it's also Eastern. Anyway, go ahead, Vic. Fire away.
All right, so we got everybody. We got questions here in the chat. So the top 16 RPI, our man Fang Nai always giving us a solid doing it for the people. So let's see here what we got. Hold on, where's Fang Nai? I had the top 16. There we go. So top 16 RPI, A&M, Florida, Florida State, Oklahoma, LSU, UCLA, Arkansas, South Carolina, Texas, Tennessee, Duke, Virginia, Arizona, Clemson, Virginia Tech, Auburn, and Stanford.
Notice a team missing there.
17 through 20. Oregon, Texas Tech, Alabama, and Ole Miss.
This is the lowest Alabama has been in a long time from a hosting standpoint. Long time. They are seriously in the bubble. Despite what you might hear, they're on the bubble. Now, for the record, I have them hosting. I think they're going to host until the committee decides not to let them host. I'm going to have them host. I did knock them down a little bit. But yeah, that to me, that stood out. Texas Tech moved up to 18. And I think Texas Tech's a storyline because for a couple of reasons, Victor. Where do they get seated? How high can they get seated? Like, is the committee just going to keep it conservative and go 15, 16, or do they move them up to 12, that 11 to 13 range? That'll be an interesting storyline. And I say that because not just because of the Texas Tech impact, but whoever gets paired with Texas Tech in the Super's got a big problem. So that's why to me, is the most important seeding because whoever draws Texas Tech might be screwed.
I think
based on what I watched.
I'll be perfectly honest with you, Eric. I think it's going to be a team in the state of Florida that's going to be paired up with Texas Tech.
Well, I can tell you I paired them up with a team in the state of Florida.
And you have to find out, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow on D1Softball.com, which Florida team Eric is talking about that Texas Tech will be paired with in this final bracketology. One thing I kind of want to figure out, and I know with the unbalanced schedules with conferences, was going to make it tough as it is.
Yep.
But the Big Ten, the conference is an absolute. Was that the most difficult conference to figure out the seeding and who gets in and who gets out, especially with what happened in the Big Ten tournament from Purdue making that run to the semifinal to Michigan playing their way in winning the automatic bid to Oregon possibly costing themselves a hosting site by losing in the first round. UCLA may have cost themselves a top 8 national seed with their loss in today's championship game. Was this the most difficult conference to evaluate in terms of your bracketology?
It is. It is the most difficult. I'll give you for example, the last spot, team 60, the 63-64. Let me go with that. 63-64. You have Indiana, Northwestern, Purdue, all in the conversation there based on the RPI, along with BYU, Nevada, and North Texas for 2 spots.
Wow. So 16 for 2 spots.
Right. So there's the Big Ten picture there. The UCLA factor, obviously. I am actually in the minority on this. I understand that. I still believe UCLA will be a top 8 seed when this Sunday night comes out. Their RPI officially is 6. They have 23-24 top 50 wins, good, strong schedule strength. Keep in mind, they beat both Arkansas and Tennessee at Mary Nutter. I think they did a really good job scheduling out of the conference. It is UCLA. I think they sneak in as a top 8. I don't believe that the committee wants to put 7 SEC teams in 8 spots. I could be proven wrong, but I think UCLA, granted, a win today would have helped, but I also think we got to be careful. Sometimes we over panic, we overreact to a result in a conference tournament when in reality it's not as big of a deal as some people might think, especially from the standpoint they lost to a Michigan team that's in the top 50, and congrats to them. They're super hot. They were red hot. So it's not like they lost to a team in the 80s in the RPI. So I think that's important to monitor there, whether people remember there. So, but yes, no, to answer your question, this is Sunday night. I mean, there's a lot of storylines in this. How will the Big Ten be looked at by the committee? How many teams do they get in? Doesn't Oregon host because of that, or does the schedule strength knock them out? We're going to find out how the committee handles the whole non-conference scheduling strength with question marks, because there's a lot of teams that didn't play a very good or do not have good metrics when it comes to the non-conference schedule strength. So they have a challenge to balance all that out, and it's not easy. I can tell you that, because I spent 4 hours figuring that out. But yeah, I think that's going to be a factor. And then the whole SEC picture is a trend. If I'm correct that only 6 SECs will be, well, I say only, I mean, give me a break.
Only.
That's all right. I think that was hard to figure out. And so, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of it. This is one of the most intriguing selection Sundays that I can remember. In a while, just from there's more questions than there ever has been. Normally there's a dominant question, like who's hosting, and okay, we know who the 64 are. We don't even know who all those 64 will be. And that's going to be interesting. Does the Big Ten, for example, get as many as 7? Do they get 8? That's in play. Do they get 6? Does Oregon host? Does Virginia Tech host? Does Alabama host? So that to me, yes. But to answer your question, the Big Ten, because obviously the Big Ten tournament went haywire, and then you got teams like Purdue that's making a run at their home tournament and get inside the top 50 in the RPI, which was kind of wild. And then you had North Texas today had a 4-0 lead against South Florida. You're thinking, man, what's going to happen? And then they lose that game. So there was a lot, Vic. There was a lot there. So that's my answer to your question.
Well, I think here's my question. I think everyone wants to know the question.
Sure.
Who do you currently have as your number 1 overall seed?
Well, I don't know if this will be appropriate considering it is. I may get some backlash over this, but
Are you going to get an RKO out of nowhere because of this?
I don't know, but I went with the champs. The champs are still here. You guys see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Oklahoma. I went with Oklahoma. You can argue that A&M has the better metrics, the better resume. Great. But you're not Oklahoma. Simple as that. And more importantly, Oklahoma won the SEC regular season title. They get the automatic bid in the SEC. To me, that's the tiebreaker. They have more top 10 wins than A&M. They had to play a tougher SEC schedule than Texas A&M. We're nitpicking here, okay? But to me, I would go Oklahoma 1, A&M 2. But hey, if the committee wants to get a backlash from Sooner fans, by all means, go for it. Pick A&M 1.
And the Sooner fans will use that as motivation and a chip on their shoulder.
And they should. And they should. No, and they should. Because they did win the regular season title. You know, all the SEC people told them, hey, you're going to come into the SEC. And with this young team, what did they do, Vic?
Win the SEC regular season championship. Got the automatic bid. Patty Gasso, Coach of the Year. And
so, please, committee, do not give him more motivation.
No.
For the love of, because I'm going to tell you right now, don't do it. Because if you do, you're going to hear about it. And more importantly, they're going to use that as fuel. And that's it. But that's not the reason I picked them to answer your question. I mean, I'm just playing more dramatic, theatrical. No, I just think, to me, it's Oklahoma. It's Oklahoma. They're going to get the benefit of the doubt. And you know what? They should. Period. I know people are going to be bothered by that comment because of their non-conference schedule strength, and they're going to talk about that. But I got to tell you something. If one of the big takeaways from this year that we have to address and did address last night is that the RPI is flawed. The RPI is archaic because if you look at Oklahoma's schedule, by the way, they're number 4 in the official RPI there. But if you look at the metric says they had a brutal non-conference 180 and all that. Yet, they only played like 13 quad 4 games. In comparison, Oregon played 31. Yet Oregon is, by the metrics, supposedly has a tougher non-conference schedule than Oklahoma. I think there's a lot of flaws here and metrics there. I would go Oklahoma. Like I said, if it's A&M, it's because they went with the metrics. That's what it is. There's no actual.
But you know what? Thomas Perez brought up a very fascinating point. I don't want to highlight here about the committee. Committee chooses most important metrics to get teams in teams they want or see teams where they want. See Alabama versus Oklahoma State 2023. See that whole situation.
I think he's talking. Wasn't that listen. No, that's right. The top 10 wins. They mentioned that the Alabama's top 10 wins was the reason they moved to the top 8. No, listen, the goalpost moves. Trust me. This is why I have gray hair. That's why I'm considering retiring from bracketology in the near future because it does take its toll. I'm here in a beautiful city in Oklahoma City, and instead of watching sports, I literally have been on this desk for the last 4.5 hours figuring out this field of 64 that I'm probably going to miss one. I'm probably going to miss 1 or 2 picks tomorrow night, and it's going to agitate me. God, Anyway,
Such
but
as
yeah,
the life
no.
you've chosen.
But yeah, no, I think they'll go OU 1. I think they go A. Listen, if they go A&M 1, OU 2, it's not the end of the world. I'm gonna go with Oklahoma. Benefit of the doubt. They won the SEC, right?
The
Right?
number one
Now I
conference,
understand.
number one conference in America.
And if you look at the metrics, they have more top 10 wins than A&M. They played a tougher SEC schedule than A&M. A&M had actually a very soft SEC schedule. So again, this is the imbalanced scheduling that you're talking about. And I think one of the things that has to be looked at, because they do this in college baseball, is the metric of, because of the imbalanced schedule, how tough was your schedule in your conference compared to other teams in your fellow conference? Because a situation like this could certainly impact that. So I win Oklahoma. I don't have an issue if you go A&M, but I'm also in Oklahoma City. That'd be kind of weird if I picked against them. Although I do find it ironic that Oklahoma got rained out in a conference tournament game while there was a conference championship game here in Oklahoma City. It was beautiful blue skies. Just saying.
I mean, but
Continue. Sorry, go ahead. I'm fine. As you can tell, I got my soda here. I mean, I'm just,
I finished my soda. The chat was fired up before we even got rolling tonight, sir. So you we are we are ready.
Go ahead. Keep firing questions. Bracketology. This is your nerdcast, folks. Consider this your nerdcast. So go ahead.
Your nerdcast is live.
And we will talk about some of the games. Like obviously, we'll play the clip, my interview with Nyjah Kennedy. Speaking of the champ was here this week.
Was.
Go ahead.
Yes, she was. Yeah. All we know is that I don't want Sooner fans to put people through a table like John Cena did to R-Truth tonight at Backlash. Sorry.
Hey.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Sorry.
Come on, man. Did I not just tell you what I've been doing the last few hours? I haven't even watched a second of Backlash. That's my plan later tonight before I go to the airport.
It's gonna be. Let's just say a lot of interesting stuff happened.
All right.
That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say.
Go ahead. Go.
Fane asks, if OU is number 1, does that mean Oregon can host as his number 16 and potentially set up Lombardi returning back to Norman for a potential super regional versus Patty Gasso?
100%. Yes. That's not what I did. I don't have Oregon hosting, but yes, that could happen. In fact, I think, that could happen. Absolutely.
Let's see. We have TDB Softball ask you, how many teams from the ACC will make the field of 64?
I have 9. I have 9 in my field. I think there's 8 locks. The only one that's not a, quote, lock is North Carolina because of their non-conference schedule. They have 4 top 50 wins, but they have no losses against quad 4 teams. Their RPI and KPI are in the 30s. I have them in. I believe I have them as the 61st team in the field. So I have them comfortably in. But as you know, Victor, weird stuff tends to happen, and there's always a surprise. So I don't want to say they're a lock. Maybe if the committee decides, hey, maybe 9 is too much, we'll go 8, trades, horse trading, whatever. But I have 9. I have 9. Either way, whether it's 8 or 9, the ACC will set a conference record for the most bids in the history of the ACC. The previous record was 7. I forget the year. Alex Powers brought that up when her and McKinney were on the podcast here about a week ago.
Yes.
And they're going to break that record, and that is a compliment to the league.
People are still debating about Alabama. Then Nate Kearney brings up Alabama with 500 in conference play. Are you actually kidding if they get a region? Absolute scam if they get one. So, again, once again, Eric, and we saw this with Alabama football. You brought this up on our Friday night live stream. Do you look at the resume or do you reward the brand?
Well, let me just say this. Let me defend Alabama here for a minute. Okay, let's just play both sides of this.
Yes.
Alabama has the 9th toughest schedule in the country, 24th non-conference. They have 12 quad 1 wins. among those 12 quad one wins, they have a total of 5. I'm counting real quick here. 6. They have 6, I believe, 6 top 10 wins. It might be off by 1 or 2 there, but the point is it's not like they have a bad record, and they did win a series against Oklahoma. They have played 30 games against quad 1 opponents, 37 overall. They only have 1 loss against quad 3 and 4. Listen, if it was up to me, would I put them as a host? No, but that's not my job. My job is to tell you who I think they're going to do, and they're going to put Alabama as a host because various reasons. They play a very difficult schedule. That's what they'll in non-conference. I'm talking. It's not like they're just banking on the SEC. They do have wins over A&M. They have a win over Florida. They have a 2 wins over Oklahoma. That's 3 of the top 4 teams in the RPI.
Yep.
They have a win against LSU. They have a win against South Carolina. Those are top 10 wins. They have a win against. They split with Va Tech up in Tuscaloosa. Again, what my point is, it's not like the resume is missing stuff, but I do agree with the fact of what was it? They beat Auburn and then got bounced by South Carolina. They finished 10th of the SEC. It's an imbalanced schedule. I'd agree. I wouldn't have them as a host, but I think again, do I think they will host? Yes, I have them. I put them as a 15. If they host, they shouldn't be much higher than that, but they might. They might. And we've seen that. You brought up the year that they were higher seeded. And Alabama, no matter what happens, that's going to be nobody. There's going to be a portion of the people that are not going to be happy. There's going to be the people that believe that Alabama was given the gift of hosting a regional and that they're seated too high. Then there's going to be people that think, well, they were seated too low and that, whatever, they got jabbed. And so it's an endless thing. But I do think they're going to host, and but if again, I understand the frustration from people because a lot of the metrics that people use, they're not in the top 16 in any of the metrics. I believe they're 19 in the RPI. That is the lowest that I can remember Alabama being in the RPI in a while. And they're in the 20s in the KPI. The KPI has not liked them all year long. To me, the committee has to, until the committee actually doesn't have them host, I'm not going to project them to not host because that burned me in 2017, Vic. Remember how thrilled I was about that?
Not very.
And here's the thing: they've never missed hosting, and they can deny this all they want. I think that's part of the committee's. To your point, Head. I'll use a baseball analogy, Vic. The Miami Hurricanes for a long time had a
hosted.
And then there was a year they were on the bubble and they gave them the benefit of the doubt and people lost their mind. So I just think, to me, it's one of those where it's got to be clear and obvious they shouldn't host. And I don't think that's the case here.
It's like, you know what it is, Eric? It's like instant replay. Unless you have clear and obvious evidence to change what the ruling is, then you have to stick with the ruling. Unless it's clear and obvious that there are 16 teams that have more worthy resumes to host in Alabama, then if it's close, Alabama's going to get the nod. Like football got the nod a couple years ago.
Well, I'll give you an example. So I'll give you the example. Let's say you're debating Alabama versus Oregon. Alabama blows them away in the schedule strength. Alabama blows them away in quad 1 wins. Alabama blows them away in top 50 wins. That's an edge. If it's Alabama versus Va Tech, Alabama has more top 50 wins, stronger schedule, so it's not like they're just, they have metrics that work in their favor. It's just, what do you value? And again, every year is different. And that's what makes this a little kind of complicated, is every year they change what they're looking for and things like that. And this sport does not punish teams like in all other sports in college when a team is not doing so well in a top power conference.
The softball is the only sport where you could be a mediocre team, be 500. But
I don't even want to use the word mediocre. It's just a team that is not a top 16 team, but they get a top 16 seed. That's what I would say.
The seating, the seating and the resume, they bump,
right.
they bump heads.
And so yeah. And listen, I think what will happen, and I could be proven wrong. If you remember 2017, Minnesota was sent to Alabama. In my projections, I have Oregon going to Alabama. Familiar?
Yep. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, Eric. I think Oregon could win that regional. Well,
by the way, if that happens, if I'm right, Oregon, Alabama, the two nation's leading stolen base players in the same field, in Vandergriff against Lucier.
And by the way, both of them have appeared on.
That'd be fun. I'd like to see it. Yes. I like to see it. They could also flip it, have Alabama go to Oregon, and then that's a Caleb Burrow welcome back home. But I don't think that's going to happen. But we'll see what happens.
Yes.
Next question.
All right, let's go to Fang Nai. He brings up an interesting proposition. What do you think about only looking at wins in a quad, like 1, quad 2, that nature, instead of the full record? I know we talk about the full team's record, but the reasoning behind we look at it as a quad 1 win, a quad 2 win, top 50 wins versus quad 3, quad 4 losses. Why that has more weight when evaluating these teams?
No, it's a valid question. I think there's some of the flaws with the RPI. I think I tweeted this out earlier. BYU has 14 top 100 wins. Northwestern has 9. Purdue has 9. Nevada has 9. Like, why isn't that valued more? They're going to focus on other stuff. They want top 50 wins because they want you to play tough competition. They want you to play good teams. That's why. And the thing that people, obviously, the committee, and I think it's unfair. There's been terms that have been used. Well, they don't care how many losses you had in quad 1 or 2. That's a little aggressive. What it is the committee will not punish you. For example, Alabama went 12-18 against quad 1. They're 17-20 against the top 50. They're the only team of the hosting teams we're talking about that's under 500 against the top 50. The reason the committee will not punish a team like Alabama for going 3 under 500 is because they want you to play more top 50 games. So that is why they will not punish a team for losing 20 games, because the argument is, if you punish a team for losing 20 games to the top 50, then why am I going to play a bunch of top 50 games if you're going to punish me for it?
Incentivizing teams playing. It's the opposite of it will be just like college football, where college football looks at a record and doesn't really analyze who a team plays, and especially their non-conference schedule.
Correct. So that's why Alabama and Murph has figured it out, because obviously since 2019, when he got dinged for the non-conference schedule and dropped to an 8 seed, he has tough scheduling. Smart on his part. And yeah, does he get the benefit of the doubt on it? Probably so. But I understand it. And I rather a team like that to get the benefit of the doubt than a team that's played 31 games against quad 4 opponents.
Oregon.
I mean, and look, some of that is not fair because Missy Lombardi had a young team, so she's probably not even. I mean, I don't even think they were thinking they could be a top 16 team. They had a young team.
Further from her mind when she set up the schedule.
And some of this you can't control. There's some teams that you thought might be good that's not good. So it's not. There's no such thing as a perfect system. My thought is that's why you need more in data versus less data. One of the things the college basketball has done a very good job of is they don't just, they dipped away from the RPI. They got to the net, but they also use KenPom as a reference. They use this as a reference. Now the committee in softball is using the KPI. How much are they going to use the KPI? We don't know. It's a very young metric system. We have the DSR on D1 softball. I know there's been conversations. They're trying to push DSR in softball. I believe they're pushing that pretty good and have made grounds for the baseball side of things because baseball wants to get more metrics. The baseball has also adjusted their metrics. So I think, to me, regardless of what happens tomorrow, I don't care. One of the things that has to happen, they have to address the metrics that is being used. And this is not the committee's fault. I think one of the things we've done, I've been in fault for this too. People blame the committee for some of this, when in reality, this is what they have to, this is what they have.
You can't complain about somebody utilizing. You can't complain about people needing to use more tools when they aren't given those tools to be utilized.
Correct, right. So like the 400-mile radius rule, they have to apply that. That is not something they want to do. It's something the NCAA tells them you got to do. So they make the best they can. And I'm not saying they're perfect. They're going to make mistakes. It is what it is. We're going to have disagreements, I'm sure, tomorrow, and that's fine. But I'm just, as I have, the process as a whole has to be addressed. Like Iowa State, I had Jamie Pinkerton yesterday in the presser. They finished third in the Big 12, which is the third best conference. They have 17 top 50 wins. Yet the RPI metric has them as a 65, even though the KPI has them in the high 40s, low 50s. So because they're 65 in the RPI, they're not going to get in when they have proven they're a top 4 Big 12 team in the third conference. If this was college basketball, Iowa State would be in, whereas other teams that are going to get in don't. But because of this metric, that's what they do. And I think I wish that we weren't so influenced by the RPI number as much as to more of the body of work. And I think sometimes I do think the committee is like, well, at worst case, we'll just go with what the RPI is telling you. I do think the KPI is a good metric. I think they should use the DSR in future years. I think they should use other stuff as well. Because it's not working, because some of this metrics just doesn't add up. It doesn't add up at all. It just doesn't. I mean, there's teams that have like, with all due respect to Purdue, I don't understand why they're 45, 46 in the RPI. I don't. I really don't get it. They have their best wins is they took a game from Ohio State. They took a game from Nebraska. They have 4 quad 4 losses. Iowa State has 9 top 50 wins. They have twice as many wins as Purdue. Yet Iowa State is 65. Purdue is 45. With all due respect to Purdue, Iowa State would beat Purdue. The metric wrong. Sorry.
I think I can make the argument.
And part of this, though, is a credit to Big Ten coaches. They have, I think, done a very good job of manipulating the metrics, because you can manipulate them. And I think the Big Ten coaches clearly has done a good job. And we'll see if the committee falls for it or does not. But I do think that's part of it, is the Big Ten coaches that have scheduled have figured out the metrics. In fairness, just like the SEC has figured it out for years.
And you know why the Big Ten coaches have done that, Eric? Because in 2021, the Big Ten got dinged for playing a conference-only schedule.
Right. But
right. How do we – so the Big Ten was like, okay, how do we put ourselves in a more advantageous position to get more teams into the field? And this is what you're seeing in 2025. So we're going to be coming at an inflection point with how we evaluate.
Which is why I think there has to be adjustments. There has to be changes. Baseball figured this out. They changed the RPI metrics in it. It's not like the softball one. They've changed it to be more balanced and other things. College basketball changed. Everybody's changed. There's a reason why teams, other sports, have gotten away from the RPI as the end-all, be-all. Softball seems to be the last dinosaur with that, and that's why we're in with this is. And I hope, because I hate what happens here, we're going to discuss this for the next 24 to 48 hours, and then we're like, hey, let's just move on and play the games. Great. But then nothing gets fixed. Nothing gets resolved. And then a year from now, I will be on this desk, on this chair, and you'll be over there, and we're going to have the same damn conversation.
Because Eric, I'll say it like this before we move on to the next question. If the coaches, if the committee, if it was an important factor to evaluate and use all the data points to rate the 64 best teams and see them in the best way possible, this thing would have been done after the Minnesota debacle in 2017. It would have been fixed after what happened with Alabama in 2019.
Well, but it's got to start with the national media. And I'm not talking about us. I'm not talking about other outlets. I'm talking about literally the 4-letter network and actually discussing the bubble like every other sport does. Joe Lenardi. Wait, hold on. Let me finish this thought. People give Joe Lenardi a lot of crap, but I like the fact that ESPN uses him often because he is explaining to you what is going on with every team in every scenario, and they're discussing the strengths and the flaws and everything. College baseball, our brethrens at D1 Baseball, is referenced a lot in ESPN coverage. None of the bracketology is never mentioned on any of the national softball broadcasts. Blows my mind away. And I'm not talking. And listen, this ain't about my bracket. There's a bunch of other people that do bracketology. I met one of them this week here at Oklahoma City. Nice guy. So this is not about my bracketology. And no. I'm just talking in general. And it doesn't. And it just blows my mind away. Why can't we just treat softball like we treat the other sports? Why do we have to be very protective and about it? It's ridiculous.
You know what the funny thing is? They want softball to be treated like a national sport, like a big deal, but yet you don't give it the proper coverage and respect like the sports that are a big deal. You want to know why the WNBA is starting to run circles around softball right now? You want to know why college baseball is surpassing college softball in popularity and ratings? It's because they've advanced with the times. And we continue to have softball be in this 1970s old time.
Well, I don't know about this. I mean, that's a little 2005-ish, I would say.
2005-ish.
That's what I would say. I mean, again, don't be afraid to be talking about teams and strength. And again, instead, we just, maybe they'll be in, maybe they won't. But hey, and that's the problem. And so anyway, I didn't want to go off on a rant on that, but I think, to me, if you dissect, and I think college basketball's done a great job. That, to me, I can't remember I know people got mad that North Carolina got in this year in men's basketball, but at the end of the day, guess what? That was dissected throughout, and I think people were kind of, okay, well, that's weird and all that. So that's not going to happen. I promise you this: on the selection show Sunday night on the linear, none of this will be brought up.
Nope.
For maybe a couple of minutes, which is why you need to watch our live reaction show. There's the plug. Tell the audience, Vic, about our live show on Sunday night.
Oh, yes, a live selection show on Sunday evening. Starts at 6:30 Eastern Time, 3:30 Pacific Time, hosted by Jenna Becerra and Mr. Eric Lopez. Hopefully, he'll be in a much calmer mood.
Probably not.
During our selection show tomorrow, we cannot guarantee that will be the case. Of course, myself, Amanda Lorenz, and a cavalcade of stars will be joining us. You'll get our instant reactions. You'll get Eric's final bracketology, what storylines we're looking for, and of course, the ever fun instantaneous reactions as the field of 64 gets revealed. Now, one thing I do want to we do want to bring up another question that came up in the chat, Eric. We were continuing our conversation.
Yeah, let's get back to the question. That's more important than us ranting here. Let's go ahead.
Yes, the airing of grievances is on Festivus, not on a Saturday night. Joshua Tripp asks, who is the most dangerous mid-major in the tournament?
By the way, this was a fantastic day for the mid-major conference championship.
Just the game 3 of the Southland Championship Series.
Unbelievable. McNeese beating Southeast Louisiana beating McNeese, overturned call in the 7th inning. Well, it was tremendous. South Florida coming from behind to beat North Texas was tremendous. Coastal Carolina beating JMU in a great game. How about Coastal turning it around after slumping, taking it in their own business? San Diego State coming back, beating twice for Fresno. Belmont, congrats to Lord Matthews winning. And my favorite one, North Florida hanging on to beat a very good Eastern Kentucky team. Jeff Conrad and Amber Pfizer, they take out Allison Benning in the 6th. They bring in their other ace, Barry. She shuts the door, and the emotions of them winning the first time in the history of the pro university, North Florida in Division I, going to the NCAA tournament, the tears in Allison Benning's talking to the catcher, something I'll never forget. And Jeff Conrad, a rising name in coaching, has done an incredible job building that program with Amber Pfizer. They will be going to the NCAA tournament for the first time, and they've earned that. That was awesome. That stuff's still cool. That was awesome in the mid-major stuff. It was a really day, honestly, because, obviously the SEC was a washout. The game I was at was the Niger dominating Arizona. Big Ten, Michigan beat UCLA. They're the 2-time defending Big Ten champs. Props to them on that. But the mid-major games today were fantastic.
The mid-major games with the rain that we've had and the kind of lacklusterness of the Power Four, or the three of the Power Four, the SEC getting washed out, there was a banner day for mid-majors. You got Omaha, who lost to South Dakota, rallied back to win the Summer League for the third straight season. How about
that's going to be that's a 3 seed? Let me. We can answer the questions while we go over some of these. Omaha 3 seed with Madia Groff. That's a team to watch to see what region they end up in as far as the
Missouri, as Missouri, how Omaha treated them last year with Cameron Meyer.
Right. Now they got Groff, and Groff, when she was at Southern Illinois, they got to a regional final in Baton Rouge last year. So Omaha's a team to watch there.
Yeah, if you see Omaha in your region, be careful. Another team you need to be careful for, Maya Johnson and Belmont. You want to, for another first time making the NCAA tournament as a Division I program.
Matthews, congrats. Yeah.
If you see Belmont in your region, be careful. Be careful.
No, that's a good mid-major team. Yeah. Yeah.
The Bruins are here to take care of business.
Could we see, and I may have projected this on my field of 64, could we see Belmont in the same region as Tennessee? Could we get a Carlin Pickett's, Maya Johnson matchup? Do you remember where Megan Rhodes Smith, the assistant at Tennessee, former Vol great, you know where she was a head coach before coming to Tennessee to be an assistant?
Belmont.
Correct. And then was replaced by Laura. Just saying. One story. Go ahead.
Hey, just saying. Mid-major. But you want to talk about stories, and I highlighted this here before we.
FAU's a good team, by the way. Liberty. I mean, I don't know if that counts. I mean, they could be a 2 seed. San Diego State. I don't know if you count, but their teams are obviously always Liberty. Can this be the team that breaks through and gets to the Super Bowl?
Yeah,
right. Rachel. So those are, to answer the question of the mid-major teams. Those are the ones that probably stands out. And Grand Canyon will probably go to Arizona, but that's a team that's they're well coached with Shannon Hayes and company.
Yep, well coached. They play all three phases very well. I'll be fascinated to see who Grand Canyon gets if they do go out to Tucson. Who's going to be the number 2 seed over at Hillenbrand? One conference I do want to highlight, the Big West. Joe Evans, Eric, she does it again. UC Santa Barbara wins 4 elimination games, including beating CSUN twice on Saturday. And they will go down as the first ever Big West softball tournament champion, and puts Joe Evans in the record books as the first coach in college and NCAA softball history to lead 4 different teams to the NCAA tournament. This just in, Joe Evans can still coach some softball.
Incredible job. What a wild tournament that was. Feel for Charlotte Morgan, who's done a great job at CSUN, being that close to winning that championship. Fullerton won the regular season, got bounced in their home field. That was a surprise. Wild tournament in the Big West. Again, another example of the mid-major leagues. Now the big question is, where does Cal Santa Barbara go? Because you have Cal Santa Barbara and Santa Clara.
Yes.
Both are 4 seeds. Both are RPIs in the hundreds. So in theory, they both should be 4s. Which means
does one of them get squeezed up to a 3?
Let's hope not. I hate when they do that, but they could. That could be an option. But if they don't, because there's one of them will be going to UCLA, the other one's going to have to travel. Wouldn't it be something if Joe Evans is the team that gets sent? I don't know. College Station? Yeah, she might know that area.
I think she has a few friends over there.
Yep.
I'll be that will be, oh my goodness. You want to talk about storylines? You already talked about Laura Matthews coaching against Tennessee.
Sure.
And then you got Joe Evans possibly coaching against Trisha Ford. We mentioned Missy Lombardi. If Oregon hosts, if they're 16 and Oregon's to 1, they're beating up back up in Norman for the 2nd straight year. That is juicy. All right, Robert Ware, who would be your most dangerous 2 seed?
Oklahoma State. That's a team that has not performed to their abilities, but they have Ruby Malin. They have an offense that's capable. Probably Arkansas is going to get them, and that's going to be a battle. That is going to be a battle. from a regional standpoint. Let me quickly go through my brackets here because you asked about who are the most dangerous 2 seeds. So I want to give you some answers.
And while you're looking up that information, again, I want to shout out Eric. Can I cut you? I know you came in late. UConn, they finally break through in the
That's
Big
another
East.
3-seed team to watch in the mid-major. Yeah, they third.
Oh, Grace Jenkins, Big East Player of the Year, and what UConn did to Creighton today, my word, just the absolute dominance in that Big East championship game, 18-4.
We're happy for Laura Valentino. They've been knocking on the door, and they finally break through. Good year of UConn athletics, by the way. Women's sports.
Very good year. Very good year.
To answer the other question, Nebraska, Jordy Ball. Somebody's gonna, somebody's gonna be paired with Nija in the supers potentially. Somebody's gonna definitely get paired with Jordy Ball. As Jordy is a 2 seed. Who? That's gonna be tough. So that's another one to watch. I think one of the more interesting teams that I'm fascinated to see where they get sent is Stanford, who is, I believe, in the top 16 RPI. They cannot host. They will probably be a 2 seed somewhere. Where they're going to go? Do they go to UCLA? Probably not. So if they don't go to UCLA, where do they go? Well,
yep. Do you want to say it? Do you want to bring it up?
I'm just saying, as it was brought up to me here, Stanford tennis, I believe either this year or recently, was at Texas Tech. Stanford baseball a couple of years ago in a regional was sent to Texas Tech. I don't know. Might be interesting. Just saying.
We only tell you, hey, we're not predicting the future. We're just telling you what happened in the past. We'll find out on selection stuff, but that'll be very fascinating if that were to happen. Can I propose another one? I don't think it will happen, but Nebraska 2 seed in Norman.
So people have brought that up. The issue there is they're above 400 miles. It's about 440, 450. Now, the committee can do whatever they want. I mean, let's be honest about that. But usually, from what I've been told, if you're like 440, 450, they're not just going to fly you there for 50 miles. They're going to make it worth your mileage.
Yes.
So I can't, dismiss it because anything's possible. But I think for that to happen, Oklahoma would have had to drop in the speed line. And if that happens, we have a completely other storyline, which is oh my goodness. You talk about a massive implosion in Sooner Nation. If they dropped in the seeding lines to like a 6-7 seed, it would lose their minds. I don't think that'll happen, so I don't see that matchup happening. But again, you never know.
Yeah, I don't think it will happen either. But
no, I don't have that in my deal. But again, people think they can just bust there. In theory, they could bust there, but it's not above the rules of the 400 miles.
Okay, fair enough. Hero says, I don't want a predictable Jordy versus OU. Nebraska shouldn't go to any seed above 6.
I don't have them going to a seed above 6, so
we'll see.
I don't disagree with that, but something to keep in mind because of the 400 miles protocols. You have to put certain teams in certain regionals. So it might work out where they have to go to a top 6 seed because all the seeds below them have a bunch of teams that can bust as a 2 seed. For example, if I'm correct and Oklahoma State goes to Arkansas, that's a bust, for example. South Carolina will more than likely have a bust number 2 seed. There's multiple options. Same with Tennessee. Clemson, same with them. Duke can have a team like Georgia bust there. Virginia Tech, if they were to host, definitely has multiple
plenty of teams that can bust.
So that's how the ripple of the ripple effect takes place. So
right. I do have one question I want to ask you, sir, because I know and this relates to the Sunshine State schools. With North Florida winning the A-Sun, I am presuming you got them going to Tallahassee.
Nope.
Ooh, that might be a dark horse. I might take for a regional final. If you ain't got them going to Tallahassee.
So what's interesting? There's going to be a Florida team that's going to be out of the state. Now we'll see what the committee decides to do. This is the first time where I think there's a chance UCF could be flown out.
What?
I know. I know. Having done this process tonight, there was part of me that's like, ooh, maybe that, because UCF and FAU, for example, are both 2-seed teams.
Yes.
However, because of the 400-mile radius rule, as you'll see in my bracketology, I dropped FAU to a 3 to the bus trip.
Mm-hmm.
Because FAU cannot bus to Tallahassee. It's above 400. So anyway, but in theory, they can put FAU as a 2, bus a North Florida as a 3, and fly a UCF or send UCF to Tallahassee. Although I think Mississippi State's going to go to Tallahassee.
And FAMU's going to be there as the SWAC, and FAMU's going to be as the SWAC champ.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. There's another regional they might go to. My point is, there's some interesting options. Now, I'm not predicting that. I have UCF going to Gainesville. I actually think North Florida is the team that's going to go out of state because they actually can bus out and bus to another state, unlike the other Florida teams. They can bus to a South Carolina or Clemson, which is where I have them at Clemson. And listen, if that happens, I agree with you. I think they're a regional final sleeper there. They're too good. Now they could also push them, drop them down to a 4. Squish them down. That would be brutal. That's a top 50 RPI team.
A-Sun, Eric, and I'm sure you'll go over the numbers tomorrow night. The A-Sun, I think, is with the top 8 RPI league this year. They had as many as 4. They had as many as 5 teams.
I can give you that answer right now, actually. I have that. Let me give you that. Give me a second here. The SEC is number 1, duh. ACC is number 2. Big 12 is 3. Big 10, 4. American 5. Mountain West, 6. Sun Belt, 7. CUSA is 8. SoCon, 9. A-Sun, 10.
So a top 10 RPI league.
Yeah. The thing that hurts the A-Sun are the bottom teams.
Oh, and the bottom teams are the bottom teams.
But that's why they're not higher. If you take some of the bottom, I won't mention schools, but you know who they are.
Yeah, I know the schools.
If you take some of those off, they would probably be, to your point, would be a top 8. Because I do like the teams at the top. Like Eastern Kentucky was very good there, but no, they're a top 10 league. But point taken, North Florida is a good team, and as long as they're not just happy to be there, I think they could make some noise. But we'll see. It also depends on the draw.
Yes. Robert, let's see. Nate Kearney asked about his beloved Aggies. Who do you think will be going to Davis Diamond to see Trisha Ford and the co-SEC tournament champions? Still weird to say co-tournament champion.
Whatever. I'm not even going to touch any of that. I had beautiful weather in Oklahoma City, by the way, Keith. It was beautiful. Got a game in. Less than 2 hours. You could get Washington, a Virginia type team, by the way.
You said type team.
Could get UCF if they decide them to fly them. Could get Cal. Could get a San Diego State if they decided to fly them out of California. Same thing with Cal. Those are your barometers. I went with Virginia, just process of elimination. But that's not going to be a cakewalk if that happens. But
oh no,
those are probably the teams. Those handful of teams that I mentioned. You're probably going to get one of those.
The Sunday schedule, Eric. We highlighted this a little bit earlier. Of the 3 conferences, the Patriot League, the America East, and the Northeastern Conference, which conference championship could have the bigger significance in terms of which league champion gets seeded where? And I think
they're all going to be 4s. They're all going to be 4s. And the committee's going to be on a real tight schedule. So I don't think they're going to be able to mess around too much. I think, honestly, they probably did what I did with my bracket, which is I bust the teams, the 4 seeds that can bust to a region. Okay. That's the first thing. And then the leftovers, you go from there. So there's 4 regionals that basically they could send them there and they'll just plug them in. I think the teams to watch, Marist, I think, is a team that could do something if they get to the regionals. With Maya McDonald in that offense and their pitcher, they're really good. They're the favorites there. And then Boston, it's turning it on. We know what Casey Ricard can do. That's not going to be their well-coached team. Ashley Waters knows what she's doing. That's not going to be an easy 4 seed for somebody. Nothing against the other teams. Binghamton's actually been a very good team. They've been ranked in the D1 softball mid-major top 25. So there's some teams there that can pose some issues with you and competitive in the top 4. But I don't think the committee's like, oh, we got to change our bracket. I think they're going to probably, as of this pretty close to now, or if in the morning, they'll have certain slots available, those 4 seeds for, okay, whoever wins this goes here, whoever wins goes there, which is why you mentioned the FAMU Jackson State game. I do not have them going to FAMU. If FAMU were to win, I do not have them going to Tallahassee because there is a regional where both Jackson State and FAMU can both bust to. And so I picked that regional for them to go there. Whether that happens or not, we will find out Sunday night.
Yep, and that's going to be, and that's one of many questions we're going to be finding out Sunday night. Let's go a couple more questions, Eric. Robert asked a question about any of the top 8 in danger of not getting out of regionals. We won't be able to answer that question until 1, who is in the top 8, and 2, what do those regionals look like? So come join us tomorrow night on D1 Softball. You'll find out the top 8 in their regionals the same time we do, and we'll be better equipped to answer that particular question. But it's always intriguing, Eric, to see which top 8 seed has the toughest road to project to get to Oklahoma City. That's something that I've kind of been taking interest in the last couple of years. Which top 8 national seed has to deal with the roughest road even to get to Oklahoma City? So I'll be intrigued to see. Tomorrow night.
Well, and again, who's going to draw Texas Tech potentially is going to be interesting. What SEC super regional pairings do we get? I'm just looking at it now because committees have told me they don't look at it. So I didn't look at it this year. I learned that since they told me that. Since I got 1 SEC super regional. I've got 2. I got 2 SEC super regionals, Vic. All right, here we go, Vic. Over under 1.5 SEC super regionals pairings.
All SEC.
One and a half.
Over.
Okay. Yeah, I think so too.
If you say 2.5, then I'll say under.
In fact, I think Tennessee will be involved because they're always on.
One of them. Of course they are.
And I would not be surprised if Alabama is matched up in the other one. There you go. There's my prediction. And that's what I have on my projections too, by the way.
Very interesting.
Nobody wants to know where I seeded a team. I'm surprised.
Don't worry, Eric. They want to ask the questions that you know you're going to answer. It'll get the rest of the answers to those questions when you go to d1softball.com tomorrow morning and check out your final bracketology going into Selection Sunday. And speaking of going to d1softball.com, make sure you visit the new look d1softball.com, where you can take a look at the new look scoreboard, our conference tournament central, recaps from our D1 softball team, Eric's Bubble Watch, the bracketology. And you can also go to the D1 website tomorrow night and check out our live selection show, as well as our D1 softball Twitter/X and our Facebook channel with Jenna, Eric, myself, Amanda Lorenz, and a cavalcade of stars and other assorted faces and places. And we are going to be getting you ready for the selection show and talking about the selections as they come into us. You will get our immediate reactions as we see the field of 64 revealed to you. Let's get a couple more questions in. Fang wants to know where you have Marissa Young and Duke And why are you higher on the Blue Devils than your other cohorts in the world of bracketology?
Well, first of all, the last bracketology I publicly was Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday.
I was going into the conference tournament.
So to answer your question about Duke, because there's a two-part answer to that, Duke is 11 in the final RPI. So that's number one. They have a good RPI that you always have to check out. They have a good Duke's interesting in that they have the 10th toughest schedule overall, second toughest non-conference. Second non-conference toughest schedule. 7 quad 1 wins, which includes a win over Florida, includes a win over UCLA at Mary Nutter. They have wins over Clemson. They have a win over Stanford, and they beat Mississippi State and Nebraska. So the resume is very good. They have 15 wins. The negative is obviously people will point to is they have the 3 quad 3s and they have a quad 4 loss to Pitt. They didn't play great down the stretch. They have lost to Notre Dame recently. I have dropped them a little bit since then. I believe I had them as a 12, I want to say, on Wednesday. It's been a long week, folks. Good week, but long week. I have them as a 14 right now.
14.
But 14, I have Clemson ahead of them. Clemson winning the ACC tournament. I have them higher, and I have Texas Tech higher than Duke. I wouldn't be shocked if Alabama is ahead of Duke. I wouldn't do it, but I wouldn't be. Then again, we've discussed.
We discussed how we feel about Bama versus how the.
I got them at 14. We'll see. But I think Duke could go. Nothing would surprise me with Duke. Can be anywhere from 12 to 15 for Duke.
I will certainly bring up a fast, which possibly, based on that range, could set up an all ACC super with Florida State.
Could. I don't have that, but they could. But it also might come to Florida. So we'll see.
This is why, ladies and gentlemen, you need to go to d1softball.com tomorrow morning. Check out Eric Lopez's final bracketology. Who does Eric have paired up with Duke of the Super Regionals? Who does he have at his number 16 national seed? Who does he have at his last teams in and first teams out? All of that and more available on d1softball.com tomorrow morning. Mr. Lopez, you got an early flight to get back here and get ready for the selection show.
Let's talk a little bit more, Hill. We actual games. I was at this Big 12 championship.
Yeah, let's talk about the actual games that took place.
Texas Tech beating Arizona 4-0. Texas Tech makes history. Post-game pressers are on our YouTube channel. Vic, go ahead and grab it. We're going to play the clip, my interview with Nyjah Kennedy following the game exclusively here on the show, on D1 Softball, I should say. It was on social media if you watched it there. My thoughts here, I just want to go through quickly to some of these games here because we've talked a lot of Texas Tech, man. Watch out. They outscored their opponents this week 26-0. Scored 4 in the second against Arizona. Was dominant. Nyjah Kennedy is 100% healthy. She was dominant. She was the tournament MVP. That's why she's got a WWE title. And
wait, what?
What?
A WWE.
That's why you need to play the interview, Vic.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Because we will showcase the WWE title. But she was dominant. Their offense, Haley Tony, the freshman shortstop, was phenomenal. I think offensively for them, Maya Davis and company, and talking to them, I think they feel their offense is starting to click. Remember, this was a brand new team, basically. It took them a while to figure it out. Well-deserved performance, dominant performance for Texas Tech. To me, it's a team that is clicking on the right cylinders. Congrats to them. They're going to host a regional for the first time in this format anyway. In history. And again, it's going to be a great atmosphere over there at Lubbock. It's become a softball town. It was good to see some of the Texas Tech media make the trip to Oklahoma City, including our friend from seeing Scarlett. She was there. Good to meet her in person. We'll probably have her on at some point real soon on the podcast to follow the Texas Tech ride. Jerry was super happy. But this is a team that's starting to click. And more importantly, Nyjah Kennedy is 1,000% healthy. Vic. So very impressed with him. Arizona's fine, going to be fine. I think Arizona will probably be an 11 or a 12 seed, and I think that's where they'll play, and then we'll see what they draw. I think they'll get Grand Canyon at Arizona, and then we'll see what they get. I think they'll, do they get an SEC team or do they get a team like Stanford? But look at that, Vic. There I am with Nyjah Kennedy, and look what Nyjah's has on right now.
Hey, let's play that interview right now with Mr. Lopez with the newly crowned Big 12 tournament champion and tournament most outstanding player, Nyjah Kennedy, on our Inner Circle YouTube channel.
Eric Lopez here at the Big 12 Championships with.
Oh, hold on. Getting something. Gotta, we're working out some kinks here, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on. Give me just some.
What happened?
Don't worry. It's been a long day for everybody, so we're kind of working through some things. So we ask you to bear with us while we work through that. Yep, there we go. Now I know. I forgot to do. Also share audio. Yes. So So this should work, and let's play.
The champ is here,
and it's not working.
Eric Lopez here at the
we hear it. No, we hear it. Yes, I hear it.
The champ is here. Nyjah Kennedy and of course Texas Tech, the Big 12 champions, the tournament MVP. Nyjah, you've got the belt. You were dominant. Just tell me about today, and then what did this mean for you?
Yeah, it was really fun. Honestly, just having my team be able to go out and get runs early on just means everything for a pitcher. And then at that point, I was just able to throw it in the zone.
Your offense clicked this week. What did you see from your offense this week? They just seemed to click. The record-breaking performance against Arizona, then the big 4-run inning today.
Yeah, so I felt like we could hit this whole year. It just took a little bit to show it at times. But, I remember in the fall, one of the first things was our defense is really good in our hitting. So it's fun. And honestly, postseason is the time to show it off. So
you know what it's like to get back here to a World Series. Do you feel this team's peaking at the right time?
Definitely, yeah. And honestly, part of the World Series is just having, and part of getting to the World Series is having one good team. But also there's some luck that plays into it. So I feel like we're, like you said, peaking at the right time.
You got players like Tony stepping up and Elder who's been here with the pro. What does it mean for the other girls here on this team that haven't experienced this kind of success?
Yeah, I feel like these, just the conference championship and then the tournament championship can just be stepping stones and you can just keep growing.
We talked before the year. You want to make an impact. I'm seeing so many Texas Tech fans becoming softball fans that weren't before. Do you sense that?
Yes, I definitely do, and it's been fun to watch.
How heavy is that belt?
Pretty heavy. It's a nice belt.
Show that belt off there. That's the champ. Nyjah Kennedy, Texas Tech, your Big 12 champions.
The champ herself, Mr. Lopez,
Stay tuned.
After her
D1 softball
dominant. Texas Tech outscored them 28 to nothing in the Big 12 tournament and had 3 victories.
All right, well, first of all, I still hear the interview, Ben, so you might want to mute it up.
Sorry about that. There we go.
I mean, that was a great interview. Granted, very fair. Did you see the title, by the way? So that title.
Please, Eric, for those who are not aware, please explain the reasoning behind the championship belt that Nyjah has.
So the WWE and the Big 12 have a relationship there where the team that wins a championship and the conference championship and has a tournament MVP or whatever, or the championship game or a conference tournament, the WWE gives them a WWE title belt to everybody. So in softball today, Nyjah Kennedy was the tournament MVP. She was presented with a trophy and a WWE title. Now, unfortunately, unlike in the other sports, they didn't have an actual WWE superstar. Now, in their defense, they have a back there in St. Louis, a lot of them at Backlash there. Maybe in the good old days, John Cena would have been here, but he's obviously turned a negative corner that has been disappointing to see over the last few months.
We will not talk about that.
So she gets the title belt, right? So I set up the interview. I talked to her after the post-game presser, and we do that. And I'm envious. Like, I'm a wrestling fan. And she's like, yeah, it's pretty cool. It's like, this thing's pretty heavy. I'm like, what, really? It's like, yeah, here you go. So she let me hold it for a couple of seconds, and that thing is heavy, Vic. It is very heavy. I'm not kidding you. So that was pretty good. So I really appreciated her doing that. And I did mark out on social media, and I said, Triple H, appreciate you supporting softball. Triple H's kids. Well, I think one of his kids are playing softball. So I know he's a softball fan. Triple H, can you give us in the circle? Can you send us a WWE title and we can play the game, if you will, please?
Heck, make us general manager of Monday Night Raw because we do a whole lot better job than whoever the heck's running the show. We can't even show up to run Monday Night Raw.
Well, so we'll see. No, that was cool. So it was fun to it was fun to catch up with Niger. Her family was there. They celebrated there. It was good to talk. I talked to them a little bit. They're good people, and they made history. Vic, come in. The Big Texas Tech's never done any of this stuff, and people are fired up in Lubbock with media people there like they never have before. And it's going to be a wild scene next week when they host a regional in Lubbock. And I believe, from what I understand, they're going to have big plans for a watch gathering tomorrow night. So it's going to be something, man. It's going to be something that's cool. That's awesome. Get new fans there. Niger's Niger. And I said it again. Briella should win the National Player of the Year, no doubt.
Let's not forget the best player in softball.
I would vote her number 2 for National Player of the Year.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, look at what she's done. Goes to Texas Tech, a program that missed the tournament last year. And I know it's a completely different roster, different coach. But she helps them win a Big 12 title, the third best conference team. And I'm telling you, somebody in the top 8 is going to wish they were not a top 8 team. They're going to, because so be careful what you wish for. There's going to be somebody more than likely, unless they seed Texas Tech like super high, like a 10 or 11, which I wouldn't be against. I just don't see them doing it. But if not, if I'm correct, I think Texas Tech will probably be more on the 13 to 15 range, which means somebody in that top 8, maybe somebody in that top 4 may have to deal with some problems. And that's why potentially who's the 1 and who's the 2 could be very, very important. I know there are people out there that believe there could be a conspiracy where they pair up Texas Tech and Texas A&M. I'm not in that camp, but it wouldn't shock me either. So we'll see.
Everything's on the table.
Yep.
Everything's on the table.
Yep.
DJ says, please keep Tennessee away from all SEC supers. We need a break.
I don't like your chances.
DJ, if we're staying with the WWE theme, DJ, I'm afraid we have some bad news for you, sir.
Yeah, I think there's a very high probability that they're going to probably be paired up.
Yeah,
not guaranteed, but a high probability.
Yep. Wow. One result that because I think we've gone over all the major, all like the preeminent results for today, and I know we still got 3 championships that's still going to be decided tomorrow. Your overall takeaway, Eric. Oh, by the way, shout out to Eastern Illinois. Staying with Texas Tech. Tara Archibald leads the program, goes to join her dad in Lubbock. Eastern Illinois wins the OVC. They had to win a second championship game versus SIUE, 2 very well-fought games. Eastern Illinois makes it back to the NCAA tournament. And also, shout out to Miami of Ohio. Manny Gardner-Colgate, her first year, takes over for Corinne Kumar, and the Red Hawks once again reign supreme. They beat Ohio, shut them out 6-0 in the MAC championship. So the Red Hawks, new coach, same results, MAC tournament champions.
Yeah, I'm happy for Mandy there, and I'm happy I did put Eastern Illinois to go to Lubbock.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
Of course we'll see about that. I like storylines. What can I say? Let's have some fun.
Yes, let's have some fun. Seeing Scarlett says Reunion Region in Lubbock, Stanford, Niger, Eastern Illinois. I mean, you want to talk about everything intertwined? See Eric's Brackettology tomorrow. Seeing Scarlett, and find out it for yourself.
Well, seeing Scarlett, can you confirm that Stanford baseball and tennis has been sent to Texas Tech recently? There, just can verify me up.
Scarlett did bring that up in the chat earlier. I'm scrolling to find that comment because I know seeing Scarlett did bring it up earlier in the chat. As ironically, when you were bringing up where Texas Tech might be seated. Hold on.
Yeah, to answer that, I think Texas Tech conservatively can be 13 to 15. I wouldn't hate it if they got bumped up to like 11, 10 or 11. That's a big jump. I think they've earned it, but do I think they'll do that? No. So I kind of split the middle.
Right.
I don't think they should be a 16. That would be ridiculous.
Oh,
ridiculous.
No.
And I think it'd be ridiculous if they're a 15, to be honest. I think
the floor for Texas Tech is a 14.
Yeah, and I would argue I have them as a 13. I have them as a 13, but it could be a 14. That's the thing. It could be. It depends on what they decide to do with and how much of the metrics they lean on.
Yeah, we shall see. Oh yeah, to go. Tennis was there a couple of weeks ago. Baseball has been in the past as well. So as you highlighted, Eric, there has been precedent.
Well, and that's why because people, if that happens, people are going to call conspiracy and that it's all TV created and all that. And what I would say is, from a seeding standpoint, it would make sense. And again, if Stanford's not going to UCLA, where are you going to send them? Maybe you send them Arizona, maybe you send them Oregon if they host. But I think Texas Tech's very feasible. Whether I understand it could be uncomfortable from a storyline, with all that, but we'll see.
One of many, many questions we will finally have answered tomorrow night at 7 Eastern, 6 Central time when the Field of 64 gets announced. Ms. Lopez, it has been a long week. So first of all, before we wrap up the show, we want to thank all of our loyal and supportive followers of In the Circle Live for y'all continuing to support us and showing us love and being there with us on these late hours. And when the mayhem really gets rolling, we're going to be here for you until a national champion is crowned. We appreciate y'all for hanging out with us, especially with us having a late start tonight. Want to special thank you to our D1 softball team. Jeff Brown covered the Big Ten tournament in West Lafayette. Amanda Lorenz, Justin McLeod with the SEC tournament. Jenna Becerra covering the ACC tournament. Kelly Carlin ripping and running in the West Coast, covering both the Mountain West and the Big West tournament this weekend. Rianne Pocky giving us the national look. And, of course, Eric doing the job in the Big 12 with Brackettology and covering things in Oklahoma City. Shout out to Riley Anderson and our digital team for getting all the links out to you. We got a lot of stuff on the docket for tomorrow night and going into the postseason. So that's why you need to follow d1softball.com. to get all the information. 6:30 p.m. start time for our selection show, pre-selection show extravaganza tomorrow night on our D1 Softball Facebook and Twitter accounts, as well as our YouTube page. Come on through, get your questions asked. We're going to have a lot of fun Sunday night, and then back to our regularly scheduled podcast on Monday. Eric, myself, Justin McLeod, and guess that we're literally going to book between now and Sunday night because that's how we do it.
So we can
I'm not exaggerating, folks. That's literally what's going to happen.
Yeah. I'm exhausted myself, and I have to catch a 7:30 a.m. flight.
Remember, 7:30 Central Time, sir.
I am aware. Oh, I'm aware. Yep, got a long flight. Yeah, it's been fun. I've really enjoyed Oklahoma City. I love this place. They were also, thanks to the Big 12 folks for hosting us. We had an awesome pregame show, maybe one of the best, honestly, probably the best pregame show we've ever done in the history of Into the Circle. We've done a good few of them now, but I really enjoyed it. And I just want to thank the Big 12 folks for allowing us that access. And man, I had a blast. Hope to be back next year. And thanks to all of you for tuning in. And let's see what happens. So let's get some rest, and then we'll see what happens. Selection Sunday night.
Rest up, ladies and gentlemen. We have a lot more softball to go before we know the Field of 64. Again, go to d1softball.com. Eric's Brackettology will be out tomorrow morning. If Eric has internet, he will take your questions on his flight back to the home base. And we will see you tomorrow night for the D1 Softball Selection Sunday Extravaganza with Jenna and Eric and myself and Amanda and everyone else. Rest up, people. Selection Sunday is at hand. Top Podcast is out. Good night, Canada.